Hi, Geoff Schwartz. He's wearing the T-shirt. OLine Masterminds. This guy played in the league at a high level. Evaluates.
I think it depends on who's grading me.
I mean, how many years you play in the NFL?
8.
That's a high level.
I spent half of that on injured reserve, but yes, I did play years. It's still I paid for my house. I'm sitting in right now. I'll take it.
You are very now, Geoff. I don't want to typecast Geoff as just an offensive line guy. Not there's anything wrong with Geoff being an offensive line guy, but he is a voter on the Joe Moore Award, which goes out to the top offensive line in college football every year. He watches a ton of tape, and he does all kinds of football evaluation. So, I think the question that one of the questions I want to answer, Geoff, is this 49ers offensive line good enough? Good enough to win? To win what is the natural follow-up question? Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not saying like Super Bowl, but is this a good enough offensive line to aid in this team bouncing back and being a playoff team and maybe a divisional winner?
I feel like that's the answer all the time, right? I don't know. Look, the problem with the Niners, and we've talked about this on maybe other shows we've done together, is just the depth issue, right? Like if one of these guys gets hurt at all,
right,
the line is screwed, right? Like if Pooney was out half a season, you're just Trent's out you're just screwed. There's no depth behind it whatsoever. I know they signed Humphreys, but Humphreys has played like 2 games in 2 years. Like what do you expect from him? They brought in those former first round picks that can't play. They were good. They'd be somewhere else starting right now, right? So if the unit that is going to start the season starts and plays all 17 games, it's probably fine enough to compete in a lot of games. But you do look at the division winners, and it's hard to ignore the Lions, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bills. Like these, if you're ranking best offensive lines in the NFL, those are some of the ones you're starting with. The Eagles, obviously, I forgot the Eagles, right? So I don't think that offensive line is that good as of right now. So
right.
We'll see as the season goes, obviously. But to me, it's just depth. I just, if someone gets hurt, there's nobody behind anyone. And I think the drop-off is pretty severe.
The right guard returns. You mentioned Pooney. The right tackle returns. The center, Jake Brendel, returns. The left tackle, in theory, Trent Williams, returns. The left guard has been just like right guard was before Pooney, kind of a rotational spot. Aaron Banks is gone. Jalen Moore is gone. So maybe it's, we're trying to figure out, like, is it Nick Sikel who plugs in at left guard? So then I guess the question is, like, was that a replacement level production they got last year? Or was it a little bit better than people think? Like, I think Aaron Banks, people looked at like, well, Jalen Moore, like, well, but then those guys get off and, they were players that other teams wanted.
Yeah. I think you have to always weigh the paying of players versus production, right? So look, Moore got all the money he got from the Chiefs, and they still went and drafted a left tackle anyways. Like that, I think that kind of tells you if they thought that he was the guy of the future. And look, they might be thinking Jawan Taylor's going to leave at right tackle, and they're going to insert, they'll put Simmons there or Moore there, and like they have this line set for the future. Certainly possible, but they paid a left tackle and then drafted a left tackle. So I think the Niners were okay letting those guys walk. I think the hope is that Colby is going to be the guy eventually, right? I mean, no, he's a lower round pick, and nothing wrong with that. But I mean, I think that's their hope, probably at some point, that he's ready to play. Maybe not this year, but next year is a long-term solution at left guard.
Yeah, the 7th rounder from Iowa, who, admittedly, I talked to his offensive coordinator the other day, and he's like, "Hey, he's fantastic as a run blocker. He can move. The adjustment is going to be pass blocking." Yeah. And you came from Oregon when you guys ran. I mean, obviously, you guys ran the hell out of the football for Oregon, right?
I looked at my notes, by the way, on Iowa this year for the Joe Moore Award, because I just wanted to see, because I knew that one of the guys impressed me. And I typically don't write down numbers or names. I just write down position. I probably should write down numbers. But I did not mention Colby, but I basically said barely any pass protection against the game I watched. And the performance got worse as the game went on, just as a unit. I think that's just Iowa, great outside zone team, right? And we know that they can do that. Niners like to major in outside zone, but pass protection, by the way, is a problem for most offensive linemen. I mean, it's just when you watch college film, I know you do as well, there's just not a lot of true pass protection reps. I was looking ahead at Utah's tackles. They're really good, right? You have Lomi, that's how I pronounce his name, and then obviously Spencer Fano. And I try to watch 2 of their games. I just filtered through to watch. I just want to watch pass protection. That's what I wanted to see first. You just can't find it. There's just not a lot of true pass protection sets. I argue with people all the time when it comes to draft season. They're like, 27% of this guy's pass sets were true. I'm like, do you watch the same film I watch? There's like 7 a game. What are we talking about that are true pass protection? So that's a problem guy for everyone. So it's about traits, right? Do you have the traits to learn how to pass protect? And do you have the capability to be able to make that transition quickly? It's a problem for everyone. And so Colby, he plays hard, obviously. He's physical. If you can rely on the run blocking early, you can figure out how to pass protect, right? If you have one thing that's good, you can spend a lot of time working on the other thing, which is good. It's a good start for him to have. But pass protection coming out of college is an issue for all offensive linemen that really aren't the top, the very tippy top of the spear there.
We talk about Shanahan's offense a lot, and obviously everybody does. Historically, when you go Kyle and even back to Mike Shanahan, they basically they're either willing to get Trent Williams or they'll try and draft Mike McGlinchey, right? Otherwise, they don't spend a lot of money on their offensive line. I guess they feel like. Can you just give me your perspective? Like, does it feel to you like they just feel like the scheme is good? The scheme can make up for less than elite offensive linemen.
Well, they certainly feel that way with the outside zone, right? If you get it coached right, you don't probably need to have 5 incredible offensive linemen. But look, the way that NFL teams, I think, try to build offensive lines now, Guy, does sort of follow that a little bit, where it's not about having the best players at every position. It's about not having a weak link, right? If you have 5 average guys, that might be better than having 1 superstar, 2 average, and 2 below average, right? Like having 5 guys to just get the job done. It might not be pretty. It might not be perfect. They might not be Pro Bowlers and All-Pro guys. But if you work together, and that really is the outside zone run scheme, right? Where if you do it correctly as a group, it works out really well. But again, you look at the best offensive lines in the NFL, and they have an All-Pro here, an All-Pro there, and which the Niners do. They have Trent Williams, obviously. So it's hard to say that works a lot of the time. I do think more often than not, you would like to have just better football players at every position. Offensive line is one of them. And look, but the truth is, when you pay Brock Purdy soon, which is going to happen, you just can't afford everybody. And you pay Trent Williams a lot of money. You pay McCaffrey a lot of money. The Niners have a very front-loaded team, right? They just have a lot of guys making a ton of money at the top of the roster.
What's your opinion on Jake Brendel? He gets a lot of criticism. I think a lot of Niner fans thought they'd replace him this offseason. I don't know if you care about the PFF grades, but I can tell you what they are. But what's your opinion on Brendel? Do you have one?
I think he's just a dude. I think part of it is he's on his 5th team, I think, if I'm correct, in 6 years. It's not great. People will say, well, Schwartz, you won 4 teams in 4 years. Yeah, it's not great either. I was hurt. It's not good. It's not a good thing to be hurt so much. That was my reason why. So I think he's just fine. Look, I went and looked up some stuff this morning to be a little prepared, which is rare. I just was doing things. And I saw John Lynch talk about the draft process this year, right? And sort of not overdrafting offensive linemen. And I totally get that guy. I get that idea. But this sort of goes to your point about the resources, right? Where you look at okay, can we replace, was there a position in the draft in the 4th or 5th round to take a center of the future? Because again, the depth is just not there. If Brendel's not good, that drags down everyone else. And in the outside zone scheme, that center is so important, right? If he gets pushed back at all or can't hook his guy, just sort of stunts the progress. In other offenses where you have more of a power scheme where you build in double teams, that guy doesn't have to be, I think, as good. There's just more one-on-one opportunities and sort of the zone run scheme that makes it difficult. So there's work to be done there. And the other thing that this is just a gripe with the Niners offense and Shanahan offense is the pass protection stuff. That it's frustrating. There's not a lot of adjustments made. I don't know if that's a center issue, quarterback issue, or scheme issue, but I wonder if that affects the offensive line as well there.
Explain that. In-game adjustments?
Yeah, so when you watch Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen operate, Joe Burrow operate, They walk to the line of scrimmage, let's just pass protection, and they help the offensive line. They like, and they make changes. They see guys, you see that, okay, go here, go there, go there. Shanahan offenses don't do that. Now, Matt Stafford does. I think he's different than a lot of those guys. But do you ever see Brock Purdy doing that?
No.
Never.
Could have used it probably twice in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs.
Like, they never do that. And it puts a lot of stress on the offensive line because we're going to often, A, block nobody, which is silly. But two, like, sometimes have bad matchups because we're not changing the way we're going. And then it also allows teams to scheme you up. They know exactly, okay, well, they're going right here. Let's get one-on-one in the center. If you're able to change things up a little bit and have some freedom, you do get better matchups.
I mean, I think about Spencer Burford making a mental mistake against Chris Jones near the goal line in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And obviously the pressure that the corner blitz that they brought, the Trent McDuffie pressure they brought on third down around midfield against the 49ers where the pass got batted down. That was less a protection issue. The first one was a disaster.
A mental error. Yeah, it's a mental error.
Yeah. A mental error. They actually had it the assignment blocked properly.
We talked about this. Yeah. Look, look, in the McDuffie thing, you're typically not going to pick up the second guy in protection. Like, you're going to get the first one. But yeah, I mean, they just don't make changes. I think it allows teams to really take advantage of the O-line sometimes of pass protection.
I wanted to share some of this stuff with you. So last year, this actually surprised me. Last year, the Niners with their overall PFF offensive line ranking was 13th. Their grade with Trent Williams was 80.2. Without him was 72. Now, the problem is these grades when they do the rankings, they don't just add the grade next to it. So it's hard to know, like, were they a top 10 offensive line with Trent Williams? But I think it's safe to say they were a borderline top 10 offensive line with Trent Williams last year. Over the last 5 years, your average PFF offensive line rankings for playoff teams, 17 just to make the playoffs, basically as a wild card round. The average offensive line ranking for wild card round teams, 17, divisional round 11, conference championship 8, the Super Bowl participants 9.8. It got that one, the Niners and Chiefs were both like out of the top 15 when they met in the Super Bowl. Like, I think the Niners were 21, the Chiefs were somewhere in that range.
Which Super Bowl? 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
I just don't agree the Chiefs were that offensive line was that bad. I
don't think the Niners one was either.
I don't always agree with their rankings. But the point is, I think that you're making is that just to win at Super Bowl, you got to be one of the top 5-7 offensive lines, which is true every year.
Yeah, but the other point I'm making is this team the 49ers won 6 games last year. They just got to get back to the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And so can they be like a borderline, not 17, but that gets you to the playoffs? But can they be 13 again? Can they be 12? That's not good. It's mediocre, but it is in the NFL where half the teams make the playoffs, right? It is a playoff team.
Absolutely. And look, the Niners the win total is 10.5, which feels very high after last season. You have to figure injury luck plays a role in just better season, but their schedule is easy though. Like, that plays, I mean, they get to both Souths this year, I think, right? And then they have a fourth, they get the Giants, the Browns. Like, it is a schedule where you're not playing murderer's row defensive lines or defenses either. So you should be able to play better this year, right? You have the Seahawks and the Saints and the Cardinals to start, and the Cardinals are rebuilding their defensive line as we speak, right? They added Nolan, obviously. The Saints defensive line, Cam Jordan, we know, is really good, but aging a little bit, like not the Seahawks. It's just not, you're not playing murderer's rows of defensive lines. It'll be the best when you play in the first 5 games of the Rams in week 5.
And you're not playing like quarterbacks that take over games. Like 7 of these quarterbacks are either potentially, like if Jackson Dart plays, we'll see what the Browns are doing. But there's the potential that almost half your schedule is like rookies or, guys without much starting experience, whether it's Penix or Anthony Richardson.
It's crazy. So Darnold, the Saints, whoever on the Saints, Murray, Lawrence, Stafford, Mayfield, Penix, Stroud's good.
Yep.
Then whoever plays for the Giants.
Who do you think is going to be starting for the Giants week 9?
I think Russell Wilson will do enough to keep the job.
Okay.
They're a regression to the mean team. They were 1-8 in one-score games last season.
Yeah.
but their schedule is absolutely brutal. Like it's a sort of the opposite of Niners who were bad last year and get the benefit of playing easy divisions. The Giants, I think, have the AFC East, the AFC West, and the NFC North. Just like a very, very hard schedule for a team, looking to bounce back.
Then the Niners get the Rams again, the Cardinals. Then they play the Panthers. Week 12.
Unfortunately, not here. I could go.
I know. Then they get the Browns. I set the over/under 3.5. Which quarterback will the Browns be on by week 13?
So we're assuming they're starting. So I think the Browns go. Whoever wins the Flacco Pickett, the other one gets cut.
Okay.
So
they're not going to get the 4 quarterbacks.
I don't think so. Because look, they're going to keep Gabriel and Sanders, right? They're not going to release those guys and let someone else pick them up in their practice squad.
Right.
They'd rather just get rid of Pickett. Who's picking up Kenny Pickett?
How do you not go Flacco then?
Right, that's my thing. I think Flacco starts week 1, and then at some point they just get tired of Flacco and probably Sanders. I'd play Sanders over Gabriel, but who knows?
Then they got Tennessee week 15, Cam Ward. Colts, Anthony Richardson, if he's, Bears, year 2. And then Seattle, Darnold again.
It's a winning schedule, man. I think your offensive line just can't be a disaster. Just be average. And to your point, like you're a playoff team.
So is it an average offensive line?
So we're saying Pooney continues to get better, right?
Yeah.
Trent Williams plays most of the season.
Has to.
I don't love McKivitz. Are we saying that Colby probably doesn't win left guard immediately, right?
I would think not.
So Barch is in there. I'm looking at that, or Buford's in there,
or Nick Sikel, who they seem to like.
I think you're probably pushing. I think best case scenario you could be in that inside that 17 ranking for the wild card.
Not great.
I mean, look, the PFF rankings are what they are. I don't know if you can look at this group and think that the ceiling is top 10. I don't see that.
No, I mean, they're clearly closer to 20th than they are 10th.
Yeah. I mean, I saw a ranking this morning too. I was just looking at some stuff that put like the Chiefs at 28. Some of these rankings are just ridiculous too, by the way. They're just like absolutely ludicrous. But yeah, I mean, I think that you're probably closer to 20 than 10.
Can you explain one last offensive line question?
Yeah.
The center seems to be an important player in football.
Yeah.
But doesn't get treated like one when it comes time to draft centers.
Or to pay them.
Why?
Don't know. I have no idea. It makes no sense. I mean, the Ravens declined the 5th-year option on Linderbaum because it would make him too much money. It's too much to pay a center. Have you ever heard that before? Like a player they want to extend. Every other position they pick up the 5th-year option immediately. But with the Ravens, they said we don't want to pay him $23 million a year. It's too much for a center. Creed Humphrey's changing that. Obviously, he's going to pick Jason Kelsey's change. I think just that this is the one thing about PFF that I think has been really good for the offensive line community is it does bring awareness guy to all the other players on the field, right? Especially offensive linemen that we never had a grade for before. It was sacks or that was it, or rush yards per game. Now we have numbers to put with it, and I think teams just for whatever reason, a lot of teams just don't value interior offensive linemen in general. They just think they can just find them wherever they are. But you're right, when you find a center like Kelsey, like Creed Humphrey, they play for you for 15 years.
Even like the Steelers taking Zach Frazier last year.
Right, but they had Pouncey for 15 years before that. Like these guys, when you have a center, they stay forever. They almost never leave. It's such a valuable position like that. So when you find one, I guess it's just maybe hard to evaluate from college. Again, like sort of the idea of college offenses, it's hard to look at these guys and project. And some of these guys end up, they play tackle in college or play center in the NFL. My
assumption is just that it's an athletic thing, that the draft is so traits based and your centers are not going to be your, it's not your big guys. It's not your fast guys. It's not your dancing bear guys. It's just, so they just feel like the message they send is like, we can get anybody to do this. That's the message that kind of gets sent, right? It's like, we can make anybody.
I agree. I agree. And the thing about it is it's not that case. Most of the centers in the NFL that are good are high draft picks. Kelsey's the outlier, right? I mean, you look at the top centers in the league and they're mostly drafted early in the draft. Second round. I mean, not many first round centers.
Yeah.
Second, third round guys. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Are you got any big gambling takes, by the way? You got the one that's kind of hot right now.
What?
The Commanders under win total. I think it's like whatever. Do you know their win total off the top of your head?
Probably not. I would guess 9.5.
But it goes. You made the point about. I think how many one score? They won a ton of one score games. Last year.
I like the Rams to win the NFC West. That won't make your listeners happy, but
who cares what makes them happy?
There's still plus money. I don't really. The Rams were a play away in a snowstorm, -2 turnovers for being the Eagles to go in the NFC Championship game. I think we sort of like they started slow last year, but they were super young. They had the youngest roster, I believe, in the NFL.
Yeah, they're
going to be better this season. I just think they're going to be in the 10-7 last year. You're obviously Stafford stays healthy, which I don't think a problem. And this is a good football team, man.
Add Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, Cooper Kupp didn't give him much last season, so anything more than that is a big addition for that offense. He was hurt last year. Obviously, I think he's a step slower now. Did they draft the kid? No, it's not. It's not. Did they draft the Colorado State kid?
Torrey Horton?
Yeah.
He's
really good.
No,
okay.
They drafted Terrence Ferguson from Oregon, though, the tight end.
He's good. Deep tight end class. He just didn't get the numbers because Oregon just didn't.
Torrey Horton went to Seattle.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay. Ferguson's good. You like Ferguson? You watched Ferguson last year?
Yeah, I do like Ferguson. I was surprised that it turned out. By draft day, I wasn't surprised because you started reading it, but I was surprised that he was that level of prospect.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought he could.
Yeah.
Interesting. He could catch really well. He just didn't score a lot of touchdowns. He got tackled at the 2-yard line 4 times.
See, I feel like he had a lot of drops last year, but my guess is if I looked at PFF, it would have 1 drop. So maybe I'm wrong.
I didn't think about the drops. He had some big catches though for us last year.